Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I'm joined once again by Demosthenes.
Folks. I'm excited to share more of this Cold Rhaga playthrough with y'all.
Yeah, so we've got a few turns to go through. Probably be one episode here. So tell us what happened last time.
Yeah. So, I guess we finished up the conquest of Bogaruth, and, which was very successful. We managed to get all of their land with no bull train happening whatsoever.
Right.
And we're now sort of in a phase where economically, we believe, that, I'm sort of a major powerhouse right now. I'm a full scale nation. I'm probably by a margin the biggest on the map. And my thinking, is that this is a great opportunity, given that nobody is attacking me, to sort of focus on my economy and really try to turn what is currently a land advantage into sort of a economic, ability to build mages and get research and so on, sort of sustaining
Right.
advantage.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So yeah, we're probably in the midst of a few, like an eco session, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
we got a battle here
that's
against the Throne army, it looks like.
yeah. So this is a throne full of barbarians, and as we were discussing, I don't really want to gain a lot more. I already have three thrones, claimed and ported, and that would be a fourth. So I don't really want to own that throne.
Right.
But, there's still strategic value in having, this, sort of taking possession of this, given the situation. And what I ended up doing is packing this team, what threat it was, whether it's one that's of particular value to me. And it's the Threat of the Moon, which is decent. I've got a precision blast, so another three precision would be pretty cool. But it's not, it doesn't provide something that's really transformative. So I
Right.
ended up then, we could talk a little bit about that diplomacy, but in general, I've been, Patala has been non-responsive diplomatically. They have a huge army in my border. I don't really want to that to them. So I offered to sell that throne to Atlantis and, for a decent deal. So he's going to send me, I think, a robe of the sea and 10 gems, and he'll
Nice.
get to grab that. So,
That's a decent deal for him too. He picks up a province. It's probably gonna have sites there. He's gonna get 2 gems a turn.
yeah. And, for me strategically, Atlantis has been, doing God's work in trying to kill Lemuria. And, I feel like that often it results in you getting a little bit less stuff in this regard. And,
Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of for the game state, a good choice if I want to not be seen as throne rushing, but instead, letting things sit. So that's what
Having
I'm
giving
doing.
this province to Atlantis too also is going to incentivize him to fight Patala because from this province he can sail and hit pretty deep into Patala's land, but there's nothing he can
Yeah,
sail and hit into you. So
that's right. In fact, one of the things that's weird about this map, if you zoom out a bit, is there's basically no water in the entire columns that I'm in. Like there's
right,
that one Zabalba water province.
there's one.
Uh, in the sort of like map original image,
Oh
the
yeah,
left 50% of the map had all of the water
right,
provinces. So a little funny.
yeah,
That's one thing. I guess sort of economically, one thing you can sort of look at is I'm building a ton of infrastructure,
yeah.
particularly,
Palisade coming up
upgrading
here,
the Fort Throne. Yeah, that's going to get my magic temple to get my earth
right.
mages. Um,
Uh,
and we're setting up a bigger blood hunting operation in that forest. And there's a second one getting set up sort of at the far west as
right,
well. And, the other thing is working a bit on Dominion. So if you look at Pangea, it's finally become the case that Utgard's unpleasant frosty Dominion flipped into Pangea. Pangea is
oh
the
yeah, up
northwest
here,
capital.
yeah.
So I had to build a temple last turn and I'm preaching that up. So I'm going to lose the ability to make my heat mages here, but, I'm going to try and make as many as I can before that happens. Because I'd been hoping Agartha Dominion would slip in, but it has not been to be.
If you wanted to, I don't know if it's worth it. You could make a what is this?
Idle
Yeah, wherever it is.
and
Maybe
a
it's
heretic item.
6. Yeah,
The pet six, which
yeah.
I think I'm getting next turn. But yeah, I'm definitely planning to do that. I also will note the frozen fort I have on the like, sort of a little bit southwest of Pangea in the cave. That's like 2 provinces north of there. That one actually has a heretic event, which I have carefully not killed. You
Nice.
know, yeah, the main thing, for my heat mages is in that my very southwest fort next to that gas throne is going to be able to produce hot mages sort of indefinitely.
Right.
And, once I get Eternal Pyre up, I intend to use Breath of the Desert on one of my low population forts in order to, make a province in my sort of core lands somewhere on the east hot. Probably that cave or term.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I mean, you could. I mean, it's also worth potentially more with Rhaga than other nations having like I saw you already had some flying boots on somebody, right? But having like flying boots and maybe like one thing I actually like is Stymphalian wings and
Mhm.
comboing that with boots of quickness, and you can like really haul ass around the map. That's a
Yeah,
kind of cool thing. There's also one I forget. It's like 7 mile stride boots or something. There's something I think is even
yeah,
farther
yeah.
meant move than boots of quickness.
Plus 18, I think. That the
Right. And for like your little heat dudes who aren't flying, you give them the Stymphalian wing. Oh my god, 8? The fuck?
they're really old. They're grievously old. So I've been twice boarding a few of them just to get a few more mobile copies of them.
Yeah.
They're grievously old.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean this is even out of the range of like doing blood feast or whatever it is. Not blood feast, what is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's helpless.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it like 4
Yeah,
times or
these
something.
guys are twice born food. So, I
Yeah,
saw you were
yeah.
doing
So,
some
I
Raven
twice
feast
boarded a
too. I
few,
like
and
that. That's a
I did that, I think, on the location of some big battle that I spotted where there
right.
hadn't been somebody doing skelly spam.
It's also worth pointing out this is Rhaga is an interesting nation because it's a blood nation that has high air, and those nations, if they want to, they have really good. A lot of times, you don't want to like air gems are really valuable, right? But you have such high air income, you can turn that into death gems pretty easily with that. If
By just blood hunting province up to enough corpses and then
yeah, yeah,
raven.
and I mean,
Yeah.
generally, I think it's worth casting once you get like 200 corpses, 150. So it doesn't take very long when you're blood hunting. Let's see. Yeah, this one's got 56. This is only two dudes. Like once you have like, I don't know,
5 or
seven or
6 there, and it's
something,
been a few
6 or
turns,
7
yeah.
blood hunters in here, you'll get a lot of corpses real fast. And then you just hit it with the Raven Feast.
And, since they have such a great air income, it's a good way to sort of shift that into a death income with,
Right.
among other things, I can get my national mages, that
Well, and
do the
twice one of
mages
these
and stuff.
guys. I mean, I think that's a great use of
Yeah.
it.
10 gems, and,
Yeah.
they're a decent amount of upkeep too. So you get, like, in addition to getting a better chassis, you also, it's like 20 gold a turn or something that you
Yeah,
get.
and I
So
think
it adds up.
especially if you got to get these guys all the way across your empire. I mean, I don't really love the idea of trying to Death of the Brez. But God, I can't talk. Breath of the Desert, your own lands, so like trying to fight your own dominion score. I don't love that. Like where you can keep your dominion out, it's great. But like if you're gonna have to get heat dudes over here, I'd say get a system set up and just have like 6 or 7 of these white mages over here that you've shuffled it in. So
Yeah, that's gonna be sort of a mix of those, and then also
yeah,
doing, flying boots can move them three tiles a turn,
right,
and so I'm gonna get a few turns, make 3 or 4 of those,
yeah,
and also one of those flying carpets would planning to use with my one of my turn Shaws to get a sort of flying super commander.
yeah,
So, we'll check him out when he's available. But yeah, the other thing that happened this turn is my pretender woke up early.
yeah. Let's take a look. Where's Rhaga? Here we go.
So,
Yeah, it's gonna be useful.
I don't quite have the gems yet for Ring of Sorcery, but he'll spend his first few turns getting, boosters that I can't otherwise make, and
Right.
then and hopefully make the Ring of Sorcery once I've hit enough pearls.
Yeah, it's probably worth trying to trade for pearls if you can. Nope,
Yeah,
level's up
that's
too.
not a
That's
bad thought.
significant. Turn 32, we'd expect to see them start coming up pretty soon. So,
Okay.
and you're going to be running up to make a play at them yourself reasonably shortly. Let's go ahead and go to turn 33 here. We have a Weeping Stone, another Weeping Stone. Okay, coming in clutch. And then what the
That one is
fuck?
amazing.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Another Fortune Province. I swear, dude, you have
where's
the
that gem?
best luck.
So I actually decided to just start building a fort here because that's such a good route
Yeah,
at this point. Because the other thing is this province can make wolf tribe nature mages. It's actually, aside from the lizards, my only nature mage.
yeah,
And, the thing is, because of magic duel, if I want to be able to get off a nature spell like a serpent's blessing or mass protection, being able to just have like one who's immune to magic duel is useful. So I think it'll end up being useful to be able to make a few of those guys,
yeah,
even if,
definitely. I mean, Nature
probably
2 is
long
such an
term.
important path on nations that have built in fire resistance because you can just casually drop mass protection. So,
Exactly. And nature two with the 2 gems and a thistle mace, and suddenly my heavy cavalry are 25 protection rather than 20.
mhm.
Yeah. So I think the main thing, but 2 twice born guys. This guy's lost both of his arms, but gained a death path. So I sort of am modeling it as she's got the skill staff built in.
Oh, nice. Where
So
where that's where they're going to. Here? Okay.
I think they're Pangea. Oh, actually, maybe it's a
Oh, you got a
different
stat. Oh,
spot where
this was from
the
Lemuria,
guy.
right? In the Staff of Elemental
Yeah,
Mastery.
that's the one I bought from Lemuria. So that guy's going to be my eternal pyrocaster. I'm moving him a little more centrally just because he's going to hide after he
Yeah.
does that. One of the reasons I wanted to use a white mage for that is you don't really want to use a grievously old mage as your global caster. Yeah, that's my
I would look at, is this your highest death
Aquarian
mage or do you
affliction.
have other death threes? I
Yeah, he
forget. He is?
is. Yeah.
I would look to Blood Feast him for sure.
Yeah. For Blood Feast, it kills like 750 population, which is totally fine as a investment. I think it's a
Yeah, I would. I think.
or
I think they
something.
honestly made the pop kill from Blood Feast a little too high. It's you definitely do not
So
want to
that's
casually
Blood
use
Feast.
it. I would
Yeah,
not use
it
it
seems totally
except on something of like a super combatant tier or unlocking somebody who's like a really good path. I do think if this guy's your highest death mage, he qualifies though. So
absolutely. Because if I can give him a skill staff and a ring of sorcery, he's death 5 and can break me into all
yeah,
the sort of high death stuff. And right now I don't have another way to do that.
right.
So
What is Blood Feast though? Is it
3,
Blood
yeah, you
2?
just need a
So yeah, you
one
just
for
need
one.
one of any of the blood boosters that are miscellaneous. So
Oh, but he can't carry one. He might need to get empowered. Or
no, he can't do. No, he can't do. I mean, you could empower him too. It's not. It's actually cheaper than building like a brazen vessel. But he can. I mean, you can put something in this slot or this slot. You just can't do the Bloodthorn. I don't know. I mean, honestly, he's probably going to be the guy that breaks you into vampires too. So it's probably worth it to just blood empower him, and then to get vampires, it's he just like once you do blood feast, you just put a blood thorn on him, which you can make with a ring of sorcery, and he'll be able to do this, which then gives you blood threes. So, or do you have blood threes? I forget. Here's one. Oh yeah, you got a blood three, dude. I think I lost you. Are you there? All right, we had a little technical issue, but we're back. So yeah, we were talking. This guy, he's blood three. He can make blood thorns. But basically, the path is you get this dude. You empower him once. Blood feast. Frees up his arms. This dude makes a blood thorn for him, and then with with the ring of sorcery, actually with the ring of sorcery and a bloodthorn, this guy could do vampires and
yeah,
blood feast. So you actually don't really need to empower him technically, but
Yeah, so I think we'll see. Like it's very possible I'll just make the Ring of Sorcery, use that to have him do the Blood Feast, and
yeah.
not need to do the Empower. But no, it's not. Yeah, it's
I mean, the other
30
thing,
blood save is not a big cost.
I think you're probably going to alchemize too. I see it's going to be very hard, I think, for you to spend your water gems at any sort of reasonable time.
Yeah, I don't have a global plan for them. I had some ideas. One thing you could do with this nation is make a bunch of green lions, which have that really nice
Yeah, that's a great point.
more piercing attack. And the other thing is that you can forge a staff of corruption. I think it's or staff of corruption. It's an acid staff that And one of the ideas that I was sort of playing around with is that I have these 50 gold commanders, the Arius Bobed, that have really good protection and a shield and ice armor and decent magic resistance. So, yeah, they're the guy on the top of
Yeah.
this list. And if you give them one of those, sort of an item spell, they can be sort of a pretty good, sort of bonus evocation mage. And the sort of nature of those sort of evocations is it only consumes 5 fatigue per cast, so you can effectively cast spells on battle. So if you look at my treasure, I've made a few Bullet to the Dead that can be used for just sort of light skelly spam for sustainment, and that's the thing I'll do as I have free
Yeah.
hammer turns. And the Staff of Corruption is a water fire. I think it's a 2-handed one. A water fire item that of a corrosion. Sorry,
Oh, that's
that
expensive,
does
dude.
acid
Jesus
bolt.
Christ.
It's expensive, but if you look at the spell,
Hmm.
it's an AOE 1. It's basically the same thing as the Green Lion attack. So I don't know. It's a thing that
Yeah,
one
but
can
dude,
do.
Green Lion's 3 gems. This is 15.
But the Green Lion runs out of ammo after I guess it's like 7 shots. Anyway, I don't know. I'm probably just going to do those, but it's
Yeah, I do Green
a thing to
Lions.
think about. Mainly the reason being the mobility that you get with having like having 4 flying evocation mages that can sort of fly in to support something with those attacks, it could be pretty effective against some of these all resist sacreds that one might run into.
Hmm.
But I sort of think about that as more of like I could make 6 of those in a single turn if I decide that I need them. It's more an idea right now.
Hmm.
You can also do gelatinous cubes, as a category of thing, but this nation is not great at sort of the type of buffs that you would want to do on gelatinous cubes. I'm thinking that green lions are probably a better summon to do with
I'm
water
thinking you
gems if I'm
alchemize
gonna
these
do that.
though, like turn them into pearls and get yourself a ring of wizardry. Or well, you probably have to make a pit stop at sorcery, but
Yeah, that's an option. But if we've sort of been talking about the being able to like, I can kind of boost into all the things that I need already. Like, I'm not have a specific thing that a ring of wizardry would do for me that I can't do with the
well, I
ring of
mean, it's
sorcery and other
nice.
boosters.
I mean, God, there's just so many times you need it and you don't think about it.
Yeah,
It's so nice to just have. And then in addition, even if it's just you're in some pinch situation and you need to cast one more flames from the sky, it's like, oh, I have a ring of wizardry, right? Or one more seeking arrow, and the only mage that I have in range can't do it. It's like
yeah,
things you're
yeah.
never going to think of ahead of time.
That's fair. Yeah, I do actually plan to make some of the. I think it's Storm in the Bottle is the temporary air gems
Right.
item that also is a range booster
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
But
The, the other
right
thing
now
that's nice
I've
about
only
it.
got 3 hammers.
Yeah. the-
And the mages for forging a lot of these things I've just got tons of. So
right.
I feel like I can mostly only use hammers right now.
The other thing that's nice about them is it lets you cast globals a little bit stronger, right? So it's like a basically bonus 10 gems, right? If you put it on a global. So
That was +5
was it
per
5? I thought it
per
was
level.
10. And then okay, even if it's 5, still
Does it?
bonus 5.
Even still 5
Yeah.
free gems.
Yeah.
Every time you use it. That way.
So I don't know. I think it's totally worth trying. And if you have a ring of sorcery, I would think very strongly before I go ahead and make a ring of wizardry, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think given
Especially
that you're
since
starting
those.
at 4, you can't get. Yeah, you have to be 7, I
Yeah,
think, to do wizardry. And
yeah, it
yeah,
would be probably better to, like, I mean, I think like if I want to go to being able to do, Wish, or I think you can do Arcane Nexus with this
right,
chassis if I empower an air enough to get a Robo the Magi.
right,
But
right, right. That was the other
sorry,
thing I was
empower
going to
in blood.
mention was Empower and Blood, probably, right?
With that guy, actually,
Yeah,
we'll be able to do it
yeah.
with some empowerment.
And that's also a thing where like a ring of wizardry is nice, right? But I would think about even if you're only going to do a ring of sorcery, I'd just go ahead and like go ahead and get that out of the way as soon as you can. Alchemize this water. Go ahead and get it. Because I feel like that's gonna it's gonna make like it just makes things easy. Like anytime you're having to boost up to get a certain thing or like get a vampire, like whatever it is, any of the things, it's just gonna be so nice to have that like 5 turns sooner. And your astral income is not high enough. You're gonna be like it's still gonna be a long ass time, and you're gonna be making shit. Like you still need to make probably Starshine Skullcap or something.
Mhm.
So I just go ahead and alchemize.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And I personally think that there's a lot that I can do with that with a water gem stockpile. But I could turn 30 of those into pearls to get the sorcery ring a couple turns earlier, and that might very well be
I mean,
worth
I'm
it.
thinking turn like 80. I mean, you can use. I'm not saying the water is bad, but like, eh, you know,
I mean,
you're
yeah,
gonna
and
you
right
still have
now,
a solid water income. Like if you want green lions, like you can make like 3 a turn after this. So
yeah, for sure. And I already have all of the water boosters
right,
set up, and I don't have any water provinces to get the water elemental royalty,
right.
or sort of other really big expensive things. That said, one of the things I have been thinking about doing is making one of the a Cookthead.
Oh yeah,
Very specific reason, which is that
yeah. Stygian rains.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Being able to get a high water death mage, and then gear her with flying boots, and fly somewhere with a bunch of my sort of magic weapon lancers.
yeah,
Could be a very nice
yeah.
boost to the
There's
combat power of that. Force.
people. I mean, in some ways, like magic weapons end up being really common, but there's a lot of things that's going to be really good against, like Skelly spam from Mootguard. It's going to be great against crossbows. It's going to be great against, Skelly spam from Zabalba. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I think that's basically all this turn. If you look at the messages real quick, remember if there were any interesting battles we saw.
I'll flip through those.
Yeah. And then
I'll go to
yeah.
34 here. Skull stand. You got another staff of elemental mastery? Jesus
Well,
Christ.
I didn't do anything. I think Lemuria thought they were going to be finished this turn and decided to send a death basket. I don't know why everybody who's sending death baskets is sending them to me in this game, but they sent me their
Right, that was the payment for the throne.
yeah, that's the payment for the throne.
This looks interesting.
So this was a fort that Ulm had been sieging, following having beaten Gath's main army. I guess they went on the offensive a little bit.
And these guys look buffed to hell. Yeah, 33 damage, 16 attack, 22 defense.
I don't think they're buffed to hell. I think they just have a ridiculous bless.
Well, they got Strength of Giants and stuff on them too.
Did you see he's got some of those angels?
Did they
I
snipe the
think they sniped
commander, or what happened here?
Commanders were running in. I wonder whether there was some additional leadership that somehow got assassinated or something. Like the commanders are just those two Hawkmeisters who ran in.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains
That's
it.
what
They
they're
just
flanking.
ran in and died. Okay.
But if there had been a commander in the back, you can see those two thugs would have
Yeah,
probably
let's
knifed.
take a look at them.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, these aren't going to guaranteed kill like Olmish thugs. Like, there's Hawkmeisters, if they had gear, it'd be a fight. And they'd have really high defense, and luck. But
yeah. And I think, if it had been just, some mundane commander there, they would have been in big trouble.
where is
And as you
Olms?
can see, sort of.
Oh gosh,
Ulm.
yeah,
So-
Olms looks like they're in a dying shape right now.
Yeah. I think that they just, even though they destroyed that army, it doesn't feel like they've been able to push back on the offensive. And as you can see, Gath has another army already in position there.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's going to be exciting. Okay. One of the other things we talked about the last episode was alchemizing fire. So, like, getting Eternal Pyre up, alchemizing it into gold, and then basically doing maybe not a complete, but a quick fort up. You still leaning that way,
Yeah.
or what are you thinking?
No. I mean, I feel like every turn when I start the turn, even with all the mages and troops that I have in recruit, I have 2,000 gold to spend right now. Like, so, I'm already sort of like if you look at the Gath border, they're going to have a wall of 5 forts, or I guess there's one province that's not
Yeah.
forted.
That'll be,
Or
that'll
I'm
be
building a
important.
fort. Yeah, so if you have a wall of 5 forts, along that border, going to have my capital and 2 citadels sort of around it in the center. Like,
Okay.
in some sense, I'm already forting up.
Let me just say, like, you are going to be able to spend, like,
For sure.
we're going to be able to spend all your money. Don't worry about it. Like, it's not, you can always use more money to fort up more. I mean, we could fort up.
For
This
sure.
is the thing. Like, we might end up, let's say we did the thing where we had Eternal Pyre running, we turned that into gold. It's very possible we could have more forts than you could sustainably produce.
Absolutely. Already, if I'm building troops, like, I can spend all of my money. Like,
Oh yeah, no, but we'll have more forts than you could make, like, be able to spend all the, like, because at some point, if you imagine we're spending a lot of the air gems on Draconians, as the game goes later, it's going to kind of make you feel bad spending money on troops. You'd probably rather have mages supporting Draconians
sure.
than, like, spend money on troops. But we'll be able to get to the point where you probably won't be able to afford making mages out of all your forts. I think, like, the idea of forting up, though, is that even that's still okay. And the reason is you'll be able to recover from, like, army losses faster. It'll be harder to raid you. It'll actually increase your base income by a little bit, which is
Yeah.
kind of a silver lining. It's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is it's like so fucking hard to, like, fight you, right? Because it's like you're raiding it, everything's forted. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, but I have a different direction in mind, which is that I think spending the 40 fire gems a turn that I'll have once Eternal Pyre is up, making lightless lanterns might be, the first 4 or 5 turns, the right strategy for this nation.
Well, let's think about it. What's going to be so we have the enchantment stuff. What's going to be the game-winning things for you, do you think, from research?
Well, Evocation 6 gets me Wailing Winds. And, I think with the type of army composition that I've been using with, sort of a defensive army where they sort of have to come to me, I think that can be fairly effective. Main thing that will struggle with is a Skelly Scam based opponent. So I think Evocation 7 for Firestorm would I think that full picture would be pretty hard for sort of a lot of mid-game armies to deal with. Wailing Winds plus Firestorm plus whatever buffs I need to prevent my own stuff from getting killed by the Firestorm.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And,
you don't need
that's not
lightless lanterns for
very
that
far.
though. That's like evocation 7.
Oh, but one of the way that I think about lightless lanterns at this phase of the game is, in some sense, what it's buying for you is the ability to commit mages without affecting one's research. So if I wanted to launch an invasion of somebody and commit 25 of my air threes to that war, which is the kind of thing that might
Yeah,
be very hard for them to deal with, you know,
but you're not fighting right
that's
now.
going to be a big research hit.
Like I think if you were
I
like,
think we'll
here's
see.
what I would say: if I asked you that question, you're like, I need to power up to get blood 9 so I can do like big demons. I'd be like, okay, let's make some lightless lanterns, right? Because that's far away research goal. We need to get there quick, if that's what the plan is. Evocation 7, if you're just forting up and spending, like turning your gold into forts and making mages, you'll be there in a blink of an eye. You don't need lightless lanterns for that.
Yeah.
I think it's like
It-
you need at this point in the game, because you already have 6s, you're gonna have 7s pretty soon. You would say, okay, let's shift into lightless lanterns if you have a 9 you really want to get to quickly. But getting to like a 7 a few turns faster, I mean, maybe you make a couple, but like that's like we're already gonna be hitting the research button by turning gems into gold and gold into forts and forts into mages. Like we're already gonna be like slamming it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm already. I guess here's the thing. One of the ideas we talked about was rushing up to Thaumaturgy 8 for Galegate.
Right.
And
That would
that
be a
is
reason
like
to do it. That would be a reason to
it's a
do
pretty
it.
big investment. And the lightless lanterns sort of give you,
Yeah.
like, you'll both get that faster, but it also gives you the option that, when you've been being greedy and putting your research into thaumaturgy, which is not very militarily useful directly for me,
Yeah.
it gives me the ability to, once it looks like somebody's going to attack me, pivot hard into the tools that I need to fight that opponent.
The other thing that you'll have, it's worth thinking about, because we were talking about
Yeah,
death
Black
mages,
Death.
is Black Death, which I would use it. This is, in my opinion, only used to get out of wars that you don't want to be in. You also have Soul Drain, which I think you can cast as part of a communion.
Yeah, but that's not going to kill my own stuff. I don't know. That is a hard to use tool with.
I mean, if you put Life After Death up, it's not that bad. Like if you put Life After Death and they don't use Soul Drain, like they're gonna get fucked. And anti-magic. There's definitely because Soul Drain
there's a
won't
bunch of
kill you
directions
once
to
you
go in.
become soulless, right? From Life After Death.
Yeah.
So that's the thing there.
But I think like the more meta thought that I have here is that probably my 1,000 research a turn is not the highest in the game. Like I would not be surprised if like Patala, which has like 8 or 9 forts that have been pumping out efficient research mages, is ahead of me on that. And turning my economic advantage of having 40 fire income into being by far the research leader is a thing to sort of solidify my leading position. So
It's sad,
I
but I'm
haven't
actually going to
gotten
put you
up,
obviously can do what you want. I'm going to push back a little bit though.
Sure, yeah.
Being a research leader, you don't win by being a research leader, right? You win, you can, right? But you win because of some specific objective you get to that helps you win the game. In your case, like if we're going to go Thom 8, like, okay, make enough lanterns so you can pull in the Thom 8 timing by a little bit, right? But don't go hog wild. Because then you get Thom 8, we're going to do Gale Gate, we're going to do Dark Skies. That's how you're going to win. How do you win from that? You win by having a lot of forts and temples, blasting your dominion out, right? And you're flying around, knocking down other people's temples. Dark Skies follows behind you with your dominion, putting it where it's impossible to fight because you're -8 morale once you have, Dark Skies and Blood Rain and Wailing Winds going.
Sure, but let's pause a little bit, right? So in order to do this, we need Thaumaturgy 8, and we also need Construction 8 for the Alchemist Stone. If I'm just doing burning 40 fire gems on an alchemy spell with a fire 6, which is about the best that I'll have,
right?
That's going to turn into it's like 1,200 gold a turn, I guess. It's pretty significant. I don't know. Like if adding 100 research a turn, sort of permanent research a turn from doing lanterns with that money might make it substantially faster than I can get to Construction 8 and Thaumaturgy 8 to sort of do that play. So
no, I could see like 4 turns worth of,
Yeah, I'm thinking like 4 turns, right? Just to sort of.
But don't go hog wild because like I don't think it's like the way to win, But like it could if it speeds up. That's the thing. We were able to articulate a clear thing we're doing it for. We're doing it to get to Thom 8 faster because that's a deeper research goal. It's a little greedy. Construction 8 too, That's cool.
And construction 8, one of the things on that path is construction 7. And
But yeah,
now
weapons
that
of
I
sharpness.
have an earth mage, I just need, one earth mage doing weapons of sharpness, and it can transform my sort of,
Yeah.
a lot of my troops that are otherwise sort of, going to be unable to do real damage into being quite dangerous. So
You
it's
don't
sort of
do you have access to Earth Blood?
no, but there's always empowerment.
Yeah. Because
I
one thing
currently, I think,
later
have
you can think about is like Troll Kings with Earth, like a Bloodstone and Earth Boots, and then like a
oh
flying
yeah, yeah.
chassis, like a flying chassis. And they can, the nice thing about that is they can start doing it turn 1. And so if you have guys on like hold and attack, you can get 3 buffs if you do it turn 1 of just, weapons of sharpness off.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to be enough to make a pile of draconians or my
Yeah.
flying magic weapon lancers or whatever be
Right.
real
Yeah.
hard to deal with.
These draconians are nasty with strength buffs and weapons of sharpness. They really are. Even into Fog Warriors, they'll pop that pretty quick.
Cool. So yeah, and I think that's probably this turn, and the next turn is my current turn, which I've already played, so we'll be able to.
Right, and we have a game to play for this one, right? Because you told me that you got mundane score graphs, right?
So I can give the story there. So that if you look at the second swamp, the one sort of eastern of the two swamps next to each other, look at my cap.
This one?
That
Oh wait,
the
no.
one to the right of it, just one right. Yeah, you can see that my dude in that province is cursed. I've had a bunch of my mages get cursed while passing through that province. And, if you look at the mod inspector, there's only a few sites or cursed units that are there. There's a blood one, and you can say I've already site searched blood. And the only one left is actually a nature one. So that's why I was pretty sure I'd be able to get score crafts as theirs. Well, we'll see the side I find next turn.
Right. And we're gonna play a game where I guess how far ahead you are of everybody.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's see who do we think is even position 2? I'm actually struggling. I think who's Utgard?
Utgard has not, as far as I know, fought anybody this entire game. However, they were quite big after expansion. You can sort of see that they've got, 2 in every direction. I think they've taken 2 or 3 of the thrones on their border. Like they are sort of bulbous as you can be without having actually fought another player.
Okay. I think Gath is position 2, but barely.
Mhm.
Atlantis on score graphs might be, but I feel like because they have Lemuria stuff, they're probably position 3 or 4. And I feel like Utgard and Gartha might be. No.
So I will remind
Gartha's
you
small.
that I will remind you that Patala is the only other nation with a second capital. So they have Lens capital and cap circle.
Yeah, but this is. Wait, how far did they go this way? Do we know?
I think they have one of the 3 provinces between them and Utgard.
I mean, they could be tied for position 2, but I don't think they're ahead of Gath by much. Maybe they are. Income, though, we know Gath slammed a bless. Patala has a lightish
Gath-
bless, right?
F's plus is elemental rainbow with, I think, 4, 5 or 6 for 2 attack spell plus
Right.
1 surge. It's not like a crazy bless.
Right. And these guys had a pretty strong bless too, didn't they?
They have awful scales.
Yeah.
They have a serious imprisoned, or sorry, a serious awake,
Yeah. Recuperation.
fire shock resistance,
yeah.
DG and scan recuperation,
Let's take a look at scales real quick. Okay, Patala's pretty okay. Atlantis is almost full scales. Zabalba looks okay. Gath doesn't look great. I think that's
Those are
your
my scales, but
yeah,
the one west. Those.
it's not great. Agartha, it's not great. Okay. So let's see. Let's do the I'm guessing there's a couple people who are pretty close to position 2, and I'm guessing they're right around here.
Okay.
For forts, I think you have 30% lead over the next highest player, which is maybe like Patala or Utgard or somebody. But I'm guessing they're like right here, maybe would be the number 2. Maybe you're farther ahead, but income, I bet you're almost double the next player. I bet you number 2 is like right here at this white bar. Gym
We
income.
don't have. I should note we only have mundane graphs, so we will not have.
Okay.
We will have army
We'll
size.
continue the
That's
exercise
different.
though. Gym income.
Go
I
ahead,
bet
go
you
for
the
it.
next player is right here. I think you're. Or maybe it's a little hard. Maybe they're right here. I think you're actually murdering people on gym income, and it's not. I wouldn't have expected it. And like if I were in this game with you, I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, you're in position 1. I have no idea how good your gym income was. I mean, it is so ridiculous. So I
I
think you're
will say
crushing
that
it.
I think searching is a bit of a specialty for me. Like in most of the games that I play at around this phase of the game, I have about twice the gem income of the next biggest player, even when I'm equal in size.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one of the things that I focus on strategically is trying to be able to site search all the paths and figure out how
I
to
mean,
do
you're
that.
doing a good job. You're also good at this particular game. You're getting a little lucky. I'm just gonna say.
For sure.
Research. It's turn
4 air gem provinces is crazy.
Yeah. It's turn 34 and you're at 1,000 to turn. You were like, you don't think you're that good on research. I think you might not be the highest in research right now. Like there may be people above you. I think in research per turn, you're probably the highest or right equal with the highest, right? So somebody may be above you, but they don't have a better slope than you, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's right. And you can actually see that my slope is really shifted in the last 4 turns as
Right.
I finished sort of the site searching with my core mages.
Right.
And also just my forts have gotten into producing, the slow to recruit mages every other turn, with like 10, 12 forts.
Yeah. Dominion, you're looking good. This is going to be really important. Dominion graph is super important for scales nations, right? Because you really want to get, like, it's going to keep driving this income up. For you, it's complicated because you don't want to push out your heat dominion wherever you have it, right? But in general, it's so important getting that dominion up and newly conquered lands. Do you have it in Bogarus yet? Not fully.
Yeah, I've got the really nice thing about Bogarus, it's 2 west of there.
Yeah,
It's that they had full scale. So I actually just inherited their full scales the moment I took their territory.
that's true.
And the Bulba doesn't have enough dominion push
Right.
that's been a problem to keep them out. But I definitely have used having a bunch of flying air 2 mages, that were there already. I've been doing a decent amount of preaching to try and keep, like, especially I don't want Atlantis' dominion because that's cold and worse than mine, sort of in my land. So I'm
Right.
pushing much more aggressively against Utgard and Atlantis than I'm
Army
against, other nations.
size. I'm going to say you're double the next player in army size. I think the next person in army is like maybe between here and here. And I'm guessing that person may be Patala, but I could also see it be like Zabalba if they had, because I can't see a bunch of his stuff on the map, but it's definitely not Ulm. It's definitely not Utgard. Definitely, it could be Gath because Gath has a lot of Levite zealots.
Yeah. They're like 15 gold,
Right.
Super solid.
So
they have.
They could be Gath's probably right up here. I'm guessing it's Gath and Patala. Agartha, Agartha could be making long dead. I don't think they have a lot. I bet you Agartha's down here. All right, let's see how we did.
So next one is our current turn. I think we could look at the score graphs first, but I will note that there is another attempt on Lemuria's capital that could be fun to.
Oh God, let's do that first.
And you will be proud of Atlantis. They have scripted advance and cast spells.
Oh, thank God.
But there's like 8 consoles.
There's a lot of consoles. And when those consoles get, what's the bless on the Astertoots? Nothing that's going to help them kill consoles.
Yeah.
I seen some dust to dust come out.
Yeah, some dust to dust. Unfortunately, the first round of dust to dust mostly hits the wall defenders. You can see that they have sort of decimated those guys.
There's a lot of dust to dust coming out.
Then you can also see there's a lot of slow coming out. I don't know why, but the cat only mages on advancing cast have been a lot of slow animate dead. And animate dead is a little bit funny because I think some of the Lemuria death mages try to control those guys.
I think the reason for slow here is actually the dead. I'm thinking if you have too much dead stuff get close to these guys, it's probably going to worry about friendly firing them with dust to dust.
That could be.
But now they're getting in close. I'm guessing once these guys are right here, I'm expecting.
You can see there's another round of dust to dust coming out and some of the consoles getting.
Really?
I was really surprised.
What are they casting slow on?
The consoles. which is completely useless because they got like 21 magic resistance.
Yeah. Well, we need to put a little note in the improved spellcasting AI that slow needs
Yeah,
to get
yeah, I agree.
debunked. This is my
I mean, it
first
is a
time
water
ever seeing
forward
this.
I think it's probably because they're of how much higher their path is for water, but it's pretty bad.
What is this penetration roll where an Engakok's resisting an effect?
Well, if you look around with Team Cloud Scares, I think the consoles managed to steal an Engakok at this point.
Oh,
I don't actually see it, but yeah, and you can see in the back there, they've got really lucky. So that 23 MR Holy Fort Hero
oh my
got stolen by a
God.
console.
I'd be so pissed.
Yeah. Because like Atlantis brought anti-magic to this fight. They're not.
They weren't
So my
fucking
guess
around.
is that Atlantis had their Death One Water One guys on advancing cast.
Yeah.
Those guys would have more exclusively cast Dust to Dust. You can see that there's like a handful of them in the back who are just
Yeah.
being animate dead and stuff from there.
Ooh, what? That guy got burned alive. What happened to him?
I think he got stolen and then killed by his neighbors.
Oh.
Not totally sure.
They're running.
Or maybe it's the Lemuria Smite. But in any case,
Yeah, a lot of consoles in the. I mean, here's the thing with Dust to Dust. It is amazing. When you have this many consoles, though, you have to double tap them. One Dust to Dust isn't going to kill them, and the odds of getting double tapping them before they heal back up, they're not super high, right? Like when you have.
the other thing is you saw the Skelly scam. So that some of those consoles were casting an unholy command, basically taking control of some of the long that they were summoning,
Right.
which provides additional targets to distract your guy, new banishment or Dust to Dust
Yeah.
targets. This is actually a pretty crushing defeat for Atlantis in
Yeah.
that they lost 3 capital new mages and 2 heroes.
This is a big deal, yeah. I mean, it's demoralizing too.
And it kind of means that Lemuria is no longer clearly dead, right? Like they've got 8 consoles who are going to keep coming back. And, so anyway, so it's interesting because Ulm is also unable to really contribute on that front anymore, given the
Right.
Gap invasion.
The thing though is Lemuria doesn't really have any troops, right? So they break back out, they're still going to have trouble sieging. It's not
And
like
Atlantis
if they had like an
temples-
army of 300, they could be like, all right, we're popping some forts. But
Yeah. I suppose it'll be interesting to see how this progresses. I might need to fly some more scouts over there to try and just watch a bit more of that war.
yeah, I think you're right though. I think if they had these Death Ones on advancing cast, it would have been better by a lot. Like they
And
might have won.
just not have had the backs to do slow. And I think also better
I would be
for
pissed
them
if I
would
were
have
them
been-
too about slow. I had no idea
Yeah,
that slow got cast that often. We need to.
It wasn't water for death too. I think that was a big contributor to it is that was a much better path. for
Right,
that
it's
bait.
got the big fatigue reduction and then a pin bonus probably factored in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, water 1 can't cast that, so they'd just be. I just think that slow is just really. This doesn't do that much, for being an MR role. A lot of things that a 2-path mage can do that's an MR role
Yeah.
are like paralyze, disable the enemy completely for basically the whole battle.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
course.
deprioritize that a lot, I think. It's not horrible, right? But it's definitely not great. I'd rather kill something than slow it.
Yeah.
Okay, score graph time.
Uh,
Okay, so I thought they were closer. I thought number 2 was like right here. I didn't think you're actually closer to double people.
yeah, and they're actually pretty closely clustered together, which is
Yeah.
sort of interesting. Like there's not a clear number 2 on this graph.
Right. Forts. That's about what I thought. Atlantis was number 2. That makes sense actually, because Atlantis needs a lot more forts.
Also, they've taken all that Lemuria infrastructure, right? So those
Right.
forts probably can't produce troops, but they've got cheap mages, so
Right.
it's still good for them research-wise.
Right. Income. You're actually not farther ahead in income than you are in provinces, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we talked about briefly is that both my land was a little bit high in rough terrain, which probably actually partially explains my large number of magic sites. And didn't have a lot of high income provinces. And the same was true for Bogarus' land. Like if you add up all of the territory of Bogarus, they had, I think, like one province at 12K income and then like that's it. Like they had, sort of
Yeah.
pretty poor land in terms of that. The magic sites are great. I think that is what's going on there
Okay.
as to why my my scales bonus isn't putting me far ahead. The goal.
Research, we can't see. Dominion, we can't see. Army size. Patala was number 2. And they were closer to you than I thought. I thought they would be a little farther down.
Yeah.
Sabalba's number
and
2. How's Atlantis doing after all this shenanigan? They're doing okay. Yeah, Lemuria's got
Yeah.
nothing.
got nothing. Yeah. So I think you're right. Lemuria can probably break free at this point and raid all over, but they don't really have a path to getting infrastructure back
Right.
without, maybe they could summon a bunch of long dead or something. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
probably ways.
Yeah, Alma's looking a little rough. Gath is looking okay.
Yeah, you can see they've already recovered their size after that enormous army got wiped. So
I think it would. What's Patala doing? God, and what is Agartha doing? It looks like they've made peace. They're not talking to you. They've got a ton of stuff here.
Sure. That province northwest of Patala that we can't see, I'm pretty sure has like a 300 Agartha army, and both of those provinces have 50 PD devs. I keep trying to send scouts into them, and they just keep getting killed.
Okay.
But that Patala army, that only has like 35 mages in it.
Yeah.
It's got
honestly,
like 22 yogis and 13
Patala and
Nagarajahs
Agartha should make common cause against you right now.
Yeah, they should.
Them fighting, because they're not. It's also like they don't. It's a horrible like shape for their empire to take if they conquer each other, right? And it's going to take a long time. The logistics are bad. That's the other problem. Like this isn't quite a diagonal war, but it's sort of like it. And you're running away with the game so hard right now. Like they should make common cause and attack you. I think you would win. I think you would win that pretty handily, actually. Like this Patala army, they can maybe do like Foul Vapors or something.
Foul Vapors, yeah.
But like you have Aerofend.
I'll just dodge that army. Like I will just not give that army a sell.
I mean, I think you could fight it too. Like you could fight the army. Like Aerofend against this with fire resistance and put it, especially if you take your Pretender and put a PAL, like forget about it. Right?
But again, there's 22 yogis in that army. Like I have to worry about them magic dueling. But anyway, one of my sort of strategic things is I need to be able to get a nature mage who can do, who is going to need a magic duel in order to deal with it. My Pretender is Astro 4. They'll probably just kill it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If they think of it, they might not. But the thing is that like they probably can't field 3 armies like that. So I think, and that's a map move 1 army, right? Like it's got a bunch of, the bulk of it is all map move 1 tricks.
Yeah.
So I think I just go.
I mean, you can also do mass air elemental and put the Aerofend. Like you can even cast Aerofend twice, right? So you can do Aerofend for your troops. You can drop a ton of air elementals, and then Aerofend again, like round 3 or 4. Cover them all with it.
Going to be very hard for this army to deal with.
Yeah.
So I think like if Patala and Agartha were more clearly brutally fighting each other, if it felt like right now they've been sitting in this stalemate for like 5 turns. It's the kind of condition where maybe they'll just both decide to go do something else,
Mm-hmm.
But if it felt, if that army fights into Agartha and both armies sort of get wiped, I think that my move would be to attack Xibalba. Sort of because I think that the ability of Xibalba is small enough, and I think vulnerable enough to just sort of an overwhelming. Like I have a big border with them that I think that I could probably destroy a lot of their military power and just raid them to death before those 2 powers could join the war if they didn't have both enormous armies right in my border.
Yeah.
At some point they're gonna, they've got that Blunder Bless, and at some point they're gonna have Moss Ozolotls with that Bless, and it'll start to be a pretty real issue. And I think like I don't have an app with them, and I think I could turn 1 wipe half of their blood hunting at the very least in a way that sort of made it hard for them to recover. Yeah. But you can see that actually there's a bunch of army movement moving stuff east. Partially that's just I'm relocating a lot of my Draconians, which were previously on the western border. They're not very good inside my own dominion because they're cold-blooded. But if I ended up at a war with either Patala or Xibalba, I think that those will be very valuable offensive assets. So I'm sort of moving their home base east for that purpose.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to just chill and not attack anybody for 4 turns unless I see an opening.
Yeah. No, I don't think you need to be. I mean, I think I wouldn't be looking to attack anybody. I mean, you could and just push for a win. I think a more aggressive player would, but I think you're far enough ahead right now. I think you just like I think you open up the possibility of losing if you attack right now and people coalition you. Whereas if you sit here and hold tight, you've got it like cinched.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's likely to change diplomatically in 6 turns is it's possible that Gath will finish off Ulm and thus, be a free agent again.
Yeah.
I think that, the thing is that I think that Gath's window, but they have an all stats, no resistances blessed. Like their window against me is going to start to shrink,
Yeah.
with time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think so too.
the other thing you can notice is I have 0 fire gems. So this is my Eternal
Oh,
Fire
fuck yeah.
cast turn.
That's huge.
And you can see that the guard put up Mother Oak. And, if I was, if I wanted to gamble, this would be the turn to cast. I guess I need to spend 1 turn getting Alteration 5, but, I could have my Pretender do Mother Oak with, 110 nature gems and have a chance of stealing it from them. I think that would be a pretty bad play in that if it doesn't work, I just wasted what was probably a stockpile of nature gems that will last my nation through the mid game.
Yeah.
And if it does work, I just made Utgard, who's one of the free agents in the game, mad at me. So I think it's sort of a lose-lose
I think
scenario.
the other thing is like you don't need it to win. Like it's not going to really.
I don't
help
need
you
it to win.
But
there's
you're going to be able to get
globals.
enough worms that walk with if you're doing the Thought Mate rush. That I mean, honestly, you get 6 or 7 of those right with your nature gem stockpile, and like, what more do you really need? Like that's going to be doing all your nature stuff you need.
And they'll even if the armies get wiped, it's pretty likely the worm that walks just respawns. So
yeah.
I might get an Ivy King sometime before then. Just
but if you're running Solemn, right, then I don't know. I mean, you're picking up Evocation 6 first. Maybe you go Construction 8
6 is like 1 turn. But right, it's sort of a If I feel I need Conjuration 6 for some reason, which there's a bunch of good stuff that you can do. There's this nation gets my Death and Astral Gem dump, sort of national things, which I think are good, but they're not like, like because I already have the path access I need, I don't think that, they're going to be transformative.
Right.
So, I might be better off rather than getting 1 super cool mage, twice 4 and 4 of my, existing super cool mages and get the flexibility of just having a bunch of those.
Yeah. No, I think with your plan, like with this build, with the caster bless, I think it's like get forts up, slam mages, get the draconians, which are going to be like front lines for mages, and I think it's like we were saying, get ready so that your next war is going to be a 1-hit kill on somebody. And if you see it, you can go for it. But I wouldn't feel on the clock. I think you're right to like keep an eye on Zabalba with the Aussies, but
they're small, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't that they will be able to make enough to that I can't fight it.
Yeah, you can put down Aussies. Like
they are
50
also
Aussies isn't terrifying. Like 50 Aussies demands respect, but it's not terrifying. It's like once you have like 200 or 300 Aussies, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like it's actually hard to assemble an army that can survive that.
Yeah. The other thing about Zabalba is that they're, I think, the only nation that has recruitable good air access, with their blood sabbath. So they'll be able to do air offense. So one of the things I've done is I've started, now that I have a few hundred crossbows in a few armies around my empire, I started pivoting to making more sort of frontline troops that can sort of get in the way, especially on the Zabalba border. And the ones that I've actually been doing is the Turin infantry, which are the sort of medium infantry with a javelin.
Yeah.
Rather than the sort of slightly heavier infantry. And partially it's that they're like 2 gold cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that, for bats, javelins are actually pretty bad for them, both in terms of being more able to stay put and also, short range missile weapons are actually really good against flyers.
Right.
So that's the other sort of pivot. I've also basically stopped making heavy cavalry. Like the way that I sort of think about it is once I've got each of my major armies has 30, 35 heavy cavalry like that army has a line.
Yeah.
I can put a few in the back if I want that, but like Cath infantry can be fine in the back to protect the mages.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think this looks great. And I like your idea. We already talked a lot, both, just you and I together, but then also I think in previous episodes about really super budget rating ideas. And I think doing this econ play, powering up, but also building up lots of really budget raiders so that your next war is going to be just a massacre is going to be great. So,
Yeah, or even, like even if they're winning the big battles, if I can be rating them enough that it sort of wrecks their economy, like that, you know, it sort of turns it into, okay, I just need to beat this one army. And as we've seen, like if you saw in the score graphs, like I lost a lot of stuff storming Buggerus, and it took like, 2 turns to replace it. Just like all
right.
of my stuff is Scales troops. So
One thing you might want to have on
I
hand,
like.
I don't know if you have it yet, is a Staff of Storms.
And actually, I was thinking about forging one this turn with my Pretender.
Yeah,
I ended up deciding to, I don't need it this turn. I ended up deciding to make a Watcher.
right.
And partially, I want to keep controllers off my capital because maybe we can now bring up the other thing that I've been scheming in this game, which is that I'm gonna make my capital hot and get some of the actual Zeodins.
Ah,
And
oh, is this
part
the
of the
event
reason is,
chain thing?
yeah. So if you hit, you can see that the Lost Colony event, which always happens somewhere within the cap circle for Rhaga. It's this sort of complicated event chain that you need a fire for and for your capital be hot at the time in order to do it. And it produce, you get a bunch of, you get a sort of adventure site where you get a bunch of gems and, some magic items, including like the incinerate staff.
Right.
And you also get like 1,000 gold and stuff. And so it's worth, in order to be able to unlock that, it's worth casting Breath of the Desert twice at my capital, even though that kills 10% of the population. So it costs me, 56 gold a turn to do that. And while I'm doing that, we'll also be able to make heat stuff at my capital. So I'm going to, spam probably 3 of the Zeodin flying commanders a turn, and then however many of the normal Zeodins I can make.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I won't be able to keep it hot because my Dominion is really strong there. I don't, like in the late game, I might very well, do a bunch of Demon Locust on my capital and try to make it permanently hot or something. But even just having a few of those Zeodin commanders and Zeodins will be fun and potentially provide some sort of rating options that, other nations might not be expecting.
Yeah.
Or even just some really good bodyguards. So
Do your troops have? Sorry to detour. My dog's trying to play with me. These guys, do they have? Well, they don't have storm power or whatever, so their arrows
yeah, correct.
are not immune to
We
that.
do not have storm immunity. Only
Yeah.
the Spireheart archers on Calum
Right.
have that. So, the thing is that I think that for this nation, storm is, a tool. Like
Yeah,
maybe we're fighting Zabalba and,
that's
we're gonna do
specifically what I
Firestorm,
was looking at it for.
and we just want a little bit of time for it to burn all of their mages,
Well, there's a lot of nice things that come with storm. Like if you want to, a lot of times you want to do storm power or what have you, and then
Yeah, you can
but
just,
if you want to, you have a well, is that actually faster? Storm
and I
power,
think the big
storm.
thing for me with a staff
Yeah,
of storms on this nation is that all of my Air 3s are astral mages. So, you know, casting storm,
is risky
like
because
there's
they
sort of
could
the
get
problem
magic
that,
dueled.
yeah, so you might need to bring 2 it's just like a logistically complicated thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I just bring,
It's going to make hitting this monkey
um,
stack easier too, where they're going to be more reliant on archery than you. It's also going to be nice to keep flyers on the ground. I was just thinking, like, because a lot of your strategy, even though it's like, okay, storm is bad for archery, it's also pretty good at making other people like sit still for a bit. Like they're not going to be able to fly and jump on you. Like, Gath could have mass flight or something, right? And just being able to come in and be like, nope, nobody's flying. And I'm going to hit you with like 20 Air 3 mages that are doing Thunder Strike because you don't have stat
or
resistance.
doing air elementals,
Right.
like the only thing that's going to fly is my horde of,
Right.
buffed
Right.
air elementals.
Right. So I think it's one of those things when it's often hard to predict when you'll need it. It's a great item to have lying around. But don't,
Yeah,
just because
exactly.
you have it, don't, like sometimes people have things that are expensive and they're like, oh, I'll just use it in this fight to like, because I can. And then
Mhm.
you don't have it available in the lab when you might need it and you don't know you're going to need it, So,
Yeah, no, I think that's the type of item that you keep in a lab with,
Right.
your for this, like the idea is you just give it to somebody who flies,
Yeah.
and either cloud trapeze them somewhere if that makes sense, or
Yeah.
if, we're going on the offensive such that you can't do that. fly them 8 squares, from my nearest lab or whatever it is,
Right.
or 5 squares from my nearest lab to
Yeah.
where I need it. You want it to be a surprise because, and I think that's one of the things that, is really powerful about the strategic mobility that comes with being a flying nation is that I get to pick
Right.
which of my armies, each of the enemy armies gets to fight
Right.
to a substantial extent.
Right. Okay. Well, it's been exciting. Thanks for sharing these turns with us, and probably have another. Who knows what next week will bring? Whether it will be another round of eco or whether we'll have picked fight. I'll be happy either way, though.
I think, I'll be pretty excited if somebody decides to attack me just because, I think I'm sort of in this critical window where I'm not strong enough to fight a coalition at this point. Readily. I mean, I might be able to, defend off a 2v1, but, if the other nations decide that this is Vulture Rhaga time, I think that would be pretty rough.
No.
It would be right to do so, to be clear. If you look at those graphs,
Yeah.
if there's a
No,
nation
they
that
have
is
to do
double
something. This is
everybody
not
else in the
okay.
game, you cannot let a nation, especially a full scale nation like that, have its 15 turns of economy to get ahead.
Yeah.
But I think that if you look at the situation,
Yeah,
the
there's
only one
not
of them
people
is-
there. You're right. It's not like there's not something where people are able to really go on you. Like everybody's, Gath isn't finished with his war. Atlantis isn't finished with their war. Maybe Zabalba could join with Agartha and Patala. I don't know what Zabalba's doing, but
I think that that's the most likely coalition. But yeah, it was, Tala is the only one that has actually decisively, finished their first war and won it and holds the land.
right.
But even with them, they only got one fort out of it. They only got the capital.
Yeah.
Zabalba vultured one, I vultured one. And so, I think they're if you look at it, if you're Patala and you're thinking, I'm going to attack Rhaga, you've got the problem that you've only got one fort in that whole chunk of your empire.
Yeah. I think you can honestly win a 3v1 with this. I think you're in a really good position, but it would be fun if they do it. If they don't, it's going to be fun too, though. So
Exactly. So we'll tell.
all right. Thanks for joining us, and viewers, thank you as always.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for this.
All right. Take care.